Hello, everyone. My name is Colette Lewis Smith. For you to appreciate the books that I write, you may need to know the backstory of my life. I was born in Kingston, Jamaica, attended primary school in Old Harbour, St. Catherine, where I lived with my mother for a short time, and then with my grand aunt because my mother had to work. My father decided that he wanted his children to live with him, and so he spoke with my grand aunt, a beautiful woman. She taught us social graces, and she gave us a solid spiritual background at Hebron Gospel Hall. My father took us to attend the Calvary Tabernacle United Pentecostal Church in St. Anne's Bay. He was a Pentecostal, a member of Shiloh Apostolic. He came to St. Anne as an evangelist. He worked assiduously in the ministry in different areas, St. Anne's Bay, attending different churches with our then pastor, Bishop Gallimore. And then he went on to Liberty Hill to assist with the work there. During my time in high school, in my final year, our pastor decided that my father should find a wife. My father was happy being celibate because he was a pit bull for evangelism. He would go all over Jamaica to preach. Wherever you met him, he would tell you about the love of Jesus Christ. He would outline the baptismal formula. He would explain the meaning of Acts 2:38, and he was never afraid to spread the good news of Christ. Conference after conference after conference would be held, and my father would still remain an evangelist. He died an evangelist. Our pastor found him a wife. That was where my life took a turn for the worse. In my final year of high school, she decided one night that she was going to get into one of her fits, meaning she would begin quarreling from the evening until midnight and beyond midnight. I did not get a chance to sleep that night, and it was during the time when we were doing mock exams at your castle. I left the house that morning very late. There was a bus that was reliable for students who were late, Mr. Carnegie's bus. It was an old bus, and so the doors could not be properly closed. I really didn't care about the type of vehicle I was traveling in as long as I could get to school to do my work. Unfortunately, as Mr. Carnegie, rushing to get us to school on time, navigated that corner where the old theatre in Brownstone was, between the theatre and St. Hilda's. As he navigated that corner, I fell out. I do not know what happened after that. I was told by persons who were in the bus that the wheels of the bus missed my head by inches. The next thing I knew is that I was admitted in the St. Anne's Bay Hospital, and my head was like a football. My father was saddened by that. That was caused by my stepmother's tirade and my inability to rest because I fell asleep in the bus, and as the bus navigated the corner, the door swung open, and as a result of me sleeping and leaning against the door, I fell out. That was the beginning of sorrows. During the preparation for the mock exams, I was hospitalized and had to be at home for a few weeks. I give God thanks for my friends Cherise Weston and Joan Campbell. They ensured that I had the notes to prepare for my exams. Your castle has many steps from the entrance down to where our classroom was, and my friends had to assist me along with a crutch to get from upstairs your castle down to my classroom. I bore the pain because I had a vision for my life, and I knew that I could not live with my stepmother's tirades all my life. So I had to get those subjects so that I could work. Upon completing your castle, I got a job at Americana duty free in Ocho Rios. We were asked by Mr. Chatani to stay over late in the evenings to prepare the store, particularly when ships were expected on the following day. My stepmother continued with her tirades, and she insisted if I was coming in late in the evening, then I should find somewhere to live, and she began to curse. Out of the $50 per week I was earning, I humbled myself, and I remembered purchasing a tie for my dad, some rice and some flour, because I wanted to make my little contribution very early. I loved and appreciated my dad because he was a man of integrity. But this woman that the church gave to him became a thorn in our flesh. She was so upset that she went and she complained to my dad. My dad was so confused, he came out and he slapped me across the face. And I remember rolling down those steps at 1 Aching Street in St. Anne's Bay, injured, but I humbled myself because I could not argue with my dad. I realized that I needed to get another job because I could not have her blazing and continuing with her tirades to make our family unhappy. And so I applied to the St. Anne Parish Council. God was so good, I got a job to work for a secretary who was on leave for 3 months. She was on maternity leave. And just before the 3 months ended, I got a response to another application I had made to the Telecommunications of Jamaica, now Flow, inviting me to an interview as a toll and international telephone operator. I went for the interview. I was successful. While I was preparing on training for that job, my stepmother decided that she would move out. She took all of my father's furniture, all of his machines from his business place, everything that he had, and left me with an old broken down cabinet and a rickety bed. That was all I owned. I went to a little store owned by Mr. Grant in St. Anne's Bay and I paid down on a stove. I paid down on a bed. I got the job, and one of my schoolmates was also a telephone operator. She decided to share the house with me. However, my father, although he had moved out by force with his wife, he decided to ask my brother and his wife and family to occupy a part of the house to alleviate the heavy burden of the rent, so that my schoolmate, who was now a co-worker of mine, and I would have a little respite. We could pay less. My brother and his wife came, had some challenges. I will not talk too much about that here. But the long and the short of it is, it got to a point where I needed somewhere else to live. Another tirade occurred. I called on my pastor, the same pastor who had given this wife to my father, to ask them to shelter me on that night. It was an emergency. I had nowhere to go. His wife said no. We had a youth president, Mr. Winston Jackson. I called on Mr. Winston Jackson, God rest his soul in peace. And he came for us, took us to his mother's house. We sheltered in his mother's house. And then he referred us to a church sister. And we rented a room from her. Though we were working women and paying our rent, we were expected to clean the house, the entire house, at intervals. And we did it. The long and the short of it is, when I started to earn more money, on a regular basis, I would take money to my father in Brownstown, where he was now assisting his wife in the market. She eventually died. My dad has passed, but today, to God be the glory. I hold a doctoral degree in sustainable development, focusing on governance and public debt management, research that is still helping Jamaica. I want to encourage you. God will see you through. Read my books. Understand why I have written them. And if you have questions, it would be my pleasure to answer them. God bless you.
God will take care.